Okay, so let's get to TNA on AMC. Tonight is the big premiere of TNA on AMC. Tonight is going to be one of the biggest nights in TNA history. And there's a lot of mystery surrounding tonight. There's a lot of chaos surrounding TNA as fucking usual. Like, this company cannot be chaotic. They always have to have some type of chaos going on. And they always have to be slightly embarrassing and slightly exciting at the same time. Let's go ahead and get the embarrassing stuff out of the way. TNA lost 5 talents within a week of their debut. All 4 Rascals and Jake something. 5 talents right away. Other talents, they're signing short-term deals. Guys like Macklin. I don't know what AJ Francis' status is. He appears to be with the company, but I don't know what his contractual status is. But a guy like Steve Macklin, for whatever reason, they're keeping him on a short-term deal. They have re-signed talents like John Schuyler and Hometown Man, who, God bless them, they're good people, I'm sure, and they're decent wrestlers, I'm sure. But you know, I Jody Thread, of course, but these are not stars. These are not movers and shakers in the industry. They did re-sign the Hardy Boys, which obviously was like a necessity because I don't think they get the AMC TV deal without the Hardy Boys on the roster. I think that they, in fact, got the AMC TV deal because the Hardy Boys are on the roster. Um, they're getting AJ Styles for tonight. So they had Leon Slater versus Myron Reed booked. We've talked about that a couple of times this week, but that match was booked. The match was pulled not because Myron Reed was signing with AEW. The match was pulled because WWE requested dates on Leon to go to the UK. And so they pulled that match. Leon's going to the UK. And as a make good, they send AJ Styles in instead, which I think is a fair trade. So we're getting AJ Styles. What's AJ Styles going to do tonight? I don't know. My guess is it's going to be more of the same of what he did at Slammiversary. Just come out, introduce, the show, remind everybody that he used to work there. Some people believe that he's working Genesis. I just happen to not be one of those people. I guess it's a possibility. I'm not ruling it out completely, but I have not seen any indication that that's the case. There have been no teases that that's the case. There have been no rumors other than like speculation, right, that that's the case. But nobody is sourcing any information that's stating that they're going. So that AJ Styles is going to be working tonight, or that he's even going to be working Genesis. It remains a possibility. I would call it not a probability. And, that's a shame that, we don't get the Leon match, but we do get AJ Styles. AJ Styles is royalty around TNA. TNA is going to sell over 3,000 tickets for their debut tonight, which would be the biggest live impact in forever. Since the UK day. Like, I think they obviously would go to the UK during the Pop TV days in 2016. So it's probably been since they went to the UK in 2016 that they've had a episode of Impact that had this big of an attendance. I know some people think that they had like 3,000 for Montreal a couple years ago. Guys, that was maybe 1,500. They had over 3,000 for Slammiversary the night after the TV taping after. Like, most of those people were comped, and there was like it was like half a house. So, probably 1,500. So, this is going to be this is a big night for the company. They need to set the world on fire if they're going to gain any traction. And right now, nothing is leading me to believe that they're going to be able to do that. They're going to have Frankie and Mike Santana in the main event. I fully expect Mike Santana to win, and then I fully expect a bunch of fuckery and angles to happen. I think it's a possibility that Nemeth comes in, and after Santana wins, it cashes in immediately, and then immediately beats Santana. And then they set up a 3-way at Genesis. Or what I've been calling for is Santana wins, Nemeth comes down, cashes in, but says, I want the match at Genesis. He could try, he gets thwarted, and then they scrap the whole thing and they do the match at Genesis. And that's what Mike would do. I get the feeling that it's also a possibility that they do a 3-way at Genesis because they love their 3-ways. Can't have anybody getting over in the company. You got to do your 3-way matches. Is it a possibility that they book AJ Styles to wrestle at Genesis? Yeah. Who would I book him against? Frankie. I think that's the match that they want. I know some people are gonna like balk at Frankie, but AJ and Frankie would have a really good match. They're both like lifelong TNA guys. They were in the company from the early stages, and AJ's not losing. So have him wrestle Frankie, and he can beat Frankie. Like that makes sense to me. So I don't like everybody's like why wouldn't he wrestle Leon? It's like because he wrestled Leon, he's got to beat Leon. So, and he's not going to win the X Division title, right? It's like if he wrestles Mike Santana, he's going to have to beat Mike Santana. We don't want that to happen. If you're bringing in AJ Styles, you're not going to have him lose. He's a major star in the WWE, and he's one of the biggest stars in the history of TNA. You bring in AJ Styles, you're going to put the guy over. Get him in there with somebody that he can beat. Frankie's the guy that he can just beat. That's no problem. No problem beating Frankie. So that's why I would pick Frankie. It's like you get the best of both worlds. You get AJ Styles. He doesn't have to lose a match, and then he beats somebody that it doesn't matter if you beat the guy. Like you can beat Frankie all you want. Frankie's a great talent. He'll recover. Um, you know, and I think that they would actually have a really good match. Like I know that they're getting close to 50, both of them, but they're both really good fucking pro wrestlers to this day. They're both really good. There's been a lot of people out there who I don't think have been watching TNA since Frankie's been back with the company. But Frankie can go. Right now, his character is that he does shenanigans to get the wins. So it's a lot of roll up finishes and stuff. But he can still wrestle. Like he's being booked. He's not being booked to have great matches, but he can still have the great matches. He's proven that, especially when he's in there with somebody that can also go. But he can still really really wrestle. Is he a big time star? No, he's never been a big time star. But he's a really good fucking pro wrestler. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows how to wrestle. He's great. And anybody saying otherwise is completely wrong. They just don't know ball if they don't think that Frankie Kazarian can still wrestle. He can still wrestle. I think he's being booked poorly, right? He's like, Mike, he's a world champion as he's being booked poorly. He's being booked as the cowardly champion that does everything he can to get out of working hard in his matches. So, but he can still wrestle, right? Like, that him not being able to run, like I just don't see why people would say that. So maybe they watched the Fandango match, like he can't go anymore. It's like no, he actually can't go, and they did for a little bit. It's for a couple of minutes, and then they were having a good match, but they were doing gimmicks. Like the whole match was a fucking gimmick, you know. They shouldn't have even had the match. Fandango should not have even been in that match, but he was. So that's just it. Chris Jericho. I'm really sick of talking about Chris Jericho, but Conrad Thompson yesterday and a lot of others speculating. I think they're doing what I was doing. They're trying to get some clicks out of the Chris Jericho thumbnail. And if that's the case, respect. I've done that several times. It had diminishing returns, unfortunately. But there are people out there that still think that he might be showing up tonight. I would lower those expectations. I would go in with a skeptical mind and lowered expectations that you're going to get a big debut like a Chris Jericho. I think you're more than likely to get a guy like a Tommaso Ciampa, like a Killer Cross, somebody like that versus a guy like Chris Jericho. I don't think Chris Jericho's coming to TNA. A lot of people think it's a possibility. I know Andrew Baidala thinks that. I know Conrad Thompson thinks that. Other people have been openly speculating. Sean Ross Sapp says he thinks that Chris Jericho's coming to TNA at some point. No one's reporting that he's going to be there. A lot of people are openly speculating that they think that Chris Jericho is going to show up in TNA at some point this year, and very likely maybe even tonight. I am not one of those people. If he does, I will be on the live stream tonight. We're going live tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern time, and I'm gonna be tired as shit, but I'm gonna go live. And if he does, I will say, "Fuck yes, that was awesome. I'm glad he came." I just don't think that he's coming. Stax has been announced for the show tonight. He's defending the international title. I don't know against who. They need to get that belt off of him, like now. He sucks. So it's kind of embarrassing that he's the champion, to be honest with you. Um, and they need to get the belt back on Macklin, but Macklin's only around for the next couple of months, so maybe they're not going to do that until they figure out what they're going to do with Macklin. So who would they put that belt on? I would move the belt over to a guy like a Mustafa Ali, but I think Mustafa Ali is, going to be headed towards that world title. So then who do you do? Maybe they have open challenge stacks, and then whoever, like, if they do have a new signing, comes in, challenges them, and beats them for the title. And that's how Santino gets his revenge on Stacks. And then, of course, they can do a Stacks Santino match, which will get over. As much as it pains me to say that, Stacks and Santino, at like Genesis, would get over. It sucks, but it would get over. Everybody loves Santino, um, especially the live crowd. Every time Santino comes out, he's like the most over guy on the show. So, but the last thing we need is Santino winning that title. Like, it's already an embarrassment enough that Stacks is the champion. But it would be even worse if Santino was the champion. So if they do bring in somebody from the outside, like I said, a Ciampa, Killer Cross, who I don't think is any good, but fucking people keep pushing him. Somebody like that, EC3, yeah, they could do EC3. Now EC3 is booked during Genesis, but that doesn't mean he can't show up tonight. Because they've had lots of times where they have guys show up at TV and they're not at the pay per view. That is not that unusual. Um, they also have tonight. They have the trios match: Hardy's and Elijah versus the Order Four. That is like your star power. I think they open the show with that tonight. That would make the most sense. And the heels should. Obviously the Righteous is going to get involved and probably cost the Hardys the match. That makes sense. And I just hope they don't pin Ali again because Ali should be headed towards Mike Santana and the World Heavyweight title. Like, that's where Ali needs to be. That's his wheelhouse. He is a main eventer. He is re-signed with the company probably for a year, but he is in it for at least this year. And so at some point they need to get the belt on that guy. He is fantastic. They also have the Knockouts Tag Team title match. It's going to be the Elegance brand versus the Inspiration. I expect shenanigans on this one. Maybe even a title change, or the Diamond Collective. It's Tessa Blanchard, Victoria Crawford, Robert Stone, and Mila Moore. I expect them to get involved, and it would not shock me to see Perez Hilton as part of that group tonight. That's an embarrassing thing for me to say. So, I'm not proud that I just said that. The fact that Perez Hilton's on the show is obviously fucking embarrassing. But I that's what I expect. So for the people that are gonna give TNA a chance because they're excited to see if TNA can put out a show that they would really like, I think that you guys are gonna be greatly disappointed because they're not gonna have good matches tonight. They might have one, Frankie and Santana, and then even then that match is gonna have shenanigans. You got Bulky Ray on commentary, and you got the cash in gimmick looming over the thing. So you'll probably have Nemeth at ringside or Nemeth waiting in the wings. So that whole thing's gonna be a good match, but it's gonna be gimmicked out. You're gonna have the Knockouts Tag Title match. The Elegance brand can actually really work, um, but I don't think that's gonna be a good match, and I expect interference in that one. You got the trios match. Righteous is gonna interfere in that one. You can have Stacks. And then at some point, they're going to have an X Division Showcase match. I don't know what that's going to be. I don't know if they had an announcement. I can't see the comments, so I apologize. But I don't think tonight is going to be like a great episode as far as action goes. Like, you're not going to get a lot of wrestling. But I think they're going to do some stuff to get people talking tonight. And that is probably the goal because they don't have the horses in the company for them to go out and have banger matches. Like, that ship has sailed. Like, they don't have that capability anymore. They no longer have the Rascals. They no longer have Jake Something. They don't have Josh Alexander. They don't have Speedball. They don't have those guys anymore. They got Elijah. They have some guys that can work really good matches. They got Ali. They got Santana, right? Rich Swan's still really good. Leon Slater obviously is amazing, but he's not on the show tonight. They have some guys that are still pretty, like, really good wrestlers, but they don't have like the depth of talent to be able to put on a show where they're going to have like four really good matches. And honestly, even when they did, they didn't do that stuff anyway. It was just angle after angle after angle. Tonight's going to be heavy angles, lots of promos, some debuts, probably a surprise or two that's not going to be that big of a deal. And then at the end of the night, there's going to be a lot of people leaving with disappointment. There's going to be a lot of TNA fans who are really excited because they got to see some people that they hadn't seen in a while. And then there's going to be the haters that are going to come out that are coming to watch the show to reinforce their opinion that TNA sucks. And they're going to they have their tweets pre-written. They've already made up their mind that the show sucks. So be ready for all that discourse, and then bring that discourse to me inside Gilbert Studios with my microphone, a laptop that's charged and ready to go. And JD is going to be joining us. He's going to be watching most of the show. He's going to be at a wrestling meet, but he's going to be catching the show on the way back. And so should be fun tonight. Brace for Impact tonight at 11. Going head to head with Joe Pearl's show. Going head to head with Bischoff. A lot of competition tonight, so we're going to try to make it worth your while. So come and join us. All right, guys. Sorry for the fucked up streams today. We'll do better next time. And until next time, mahalo.